Welcome back, dear students. Today, we are going to take up a new chapter, chapter number 13, Time and Motion. So, let us first take up the first topic of this chapter, that is time. Time, it is the gap between any two intervals. For example, let us say the time interval of the starting of this video class till the end of this video class. So the gap between the starting of the video class and the end of this video class will be the time interval for this video class. So in this way, there are many events that used to occur in the nature. So for those events, we can measure the time by knowing the difference between the starting of that event and the end of that event. The time is measured by certain devices. In the ancient time, the time is measured depending upon the position of the sun. After that, different other devices are developed like that of the sundial. Sundial is a simple device which have a marking of the time on one spherical surface with a long elongated structure standing vertically up. Based on the shadow that is formed by this elongated structure, which we call it as genome, the time is been predicted in the ancient time. This device can measure a time interval of 1 hour and during the daytime only. This device has it used the shadow formed by this genome on the spherical or the time mark area. This device can only be used during the daytime and cannot be used during the nighttime. Because of this reason, another device was also developed which can be used even during the nighttime, and the name of the device is known as hourglass. Hourglass is a simple device which is formed by two conical shaped glass joined together by the help of a constriction portion. In this hourglass, the upper chamber of the glass will be filled with a particular amount of sand. When the hourglass is kept in this position, the sand from the upper chamber will be flowing down towards the lower chamber. When the sand gets completely emptied from the first chamber to the lower chamber, it took exactly 1 hour. Because of this reason, this device is known as the hourglass. The sundial and the hourglass can measure a time interval of 1 hour and more than that. It cannot measure the time interval which is less than 1 hour. Because of that, different scientific devices are developed after the invention of this hourglass. Let us see those new devices that are developed which can measure the smaller unit of time. The invention of the modern devices for measuring time, like that of the watch and clock, it starts with the invention of simple pendulum. Simple pendulum is a simple device having a mass tied with a string which is hanged at a particular support. When we bring this mass in this position and release it, it will go up to a certain height which is equal to the height that we brought up, and it used to start oscillating to and fro. The oscillation of this pendulum to and fro used to take exactly the same duration of time. The time taken for completing one oscillation depends upon the length of the thread and doesn't depend upon the mass of this object. A pendulum with a length of this string, 25 cm, takes exactly 1 second to complete one oscillation. And this pendulum with a length of 25 cm is used as a timing device in the first clock, which we call it as a wall clock. So after the invention of this wall clock, many other devices which are portable, like that of the wristwatch, the digital watch and the stopwatch, are being invented. The stopwatch is used to measure a very small fraction of time in terms of milliseconds also, and it is mainly used in the sports event, athletic events. So this is about the devices which are used for the measuring of time. Let us see about the unit of time. The SI unit of time is second, represented by small letter s. Now let us see what are the other units of time and how they can be related with this SI unit of time. 60 seconds is equals to 1 minute. 60 minutes is equals to 1 hour. 24 hours is equals to 1 day. 7 days is equals to 1 week. 365 days is equals to 1 year. 10 years is equals to 1 decade. 10 decades. 10 decades or 100 years is equals to 1 century. 10 centuries or 1000 years is equals to 1 millennium. So in this way, we can relate different units of time. But in our day-to-day life, we generally use second, minute, and hours for measuring the time. So these are the units of time. Now, let's come to the next part of this chapter, that is motion. Motion. When an object changes its position with respect to time and the surrounding, object present in the surrounding, we used to say the object is in motion. The motion of an object is identified by comparing the position of that object with another object at rest. Because of that reason, we used to say motion and time are related terms. These motions, depending upon how the object is moving, we can divide it into two types. The first one is known as uniform motion, and the second one is known as non-uniform motion. Uniform motion is a type of motion in which an object covers equal distance in equal interval of time. Let us say, for example, an object moves from position A to position B. In the first 1 hour, let us say the object travels a distance of 2 km. In the next 1 hour also, this same object covers a distance of 2 km. In the next 1 hour also, a distance of 2 km is covered, and in the last 1 hour also, this object covers the same distance, 2 km. So here, when we observe the motion of this object, in every regular interval of time, this object covers same distance. Such type of motion, we call it as a uniform motion. Non-uniform motion is the type of motion in which an object covers unequal distance in equal interval of time. Let's take an example that an object covers a distance from A to B. In the first 1 hour, let us say this object covers a distance of 3 km. In the next 1 hour, it covers a distance of 2 km. In the next 1 hour, 5 km, and in the next 1 hour, 4 km. So here, in this example, the object is covering unequal distance in equal interval of time. Such type of motion that is performed by an object, we call it as a non-uniform motion. The uniform motion of an object can be represented in the graph by the help of a straight line. If we take the time and the distance covered by the object, and if we represent the distance time graph on a graph paper, then we will get the graph as a straight line starting from the origin. So this is about the motion. Let us come to another term which is related to this motion: speed. Speed. In terms of definition, we can say the distance traveled per unit time. Means how much distance is covered by an object in a particular unit of time. The speed can be found out by using a formula. Speed is equals to distance covered by total time taken. Depending upon the movement of the object, the speed can also be divided into two types. The first one is uniform speed, and the second one is non-uniform speed. This is similar to that of the motion that we had discussed, uniform motion and non-uniform motion. But still, let us see. If an object covers equal distance in equal interval of time, let us say an interval of 1 hour. Let us say, for example, in its 1 hour, this object covers 3 kilometers. So here, the object is covering equal distance in equal interval of time. So the speed that object possesses during this motion will be called as uniform speed. Non-uniform speed. In this, the object will be covering unequal distance in equal interval of time. Let us say an equal interval of 1 hour. Let us say in the first 1 hour, the object covers 2 kilometers. In the second 1 hour, the object covers 4 kilometers. In the third 1 hour, the object covers 1 kilometer. And in the last 1 hour, the object covers 3 kilometers. So in this example, the object is covering unequal distance in equal interval of time. So if the object is covering unequal distance in equal interval of time, the speed that will be possessed by the object will be said as non-uniform motion. So in case of the non-uniform motion, as we are not able to measure the speed at this and every regular interval of time, we used to take an average speed. So the average speed can be calculated by taking the sum total of the distance covered by the object, that is total distance, divided by the sum total of the time interval to cover that distance, that is total time taken. So here this is about the speed. Now let us come to some devices which measure the distance and the speed in case of the vehicles. Odometer and speedometer, they are the two devices which measure the distance and the speed of a vehicle. In every vehicle, doesn't matter whether it's a scooter, scooty, bike or car, we will be able to see two devices in the front of the vehicle. They used to have marking with needles at the middle. One of the two devices will be having a marking and a needle, and underneath it will be written as kilometer per hour. In one of the devices, you will be able to see a box in which numerous numbers are written, and here it will be written kilometer. The first device that we see is the device which used to measure the speed of the vehicle, and it is known as the speedometer. The second device in which a marking with the numbers inside it is given and a unit kilometer is given, that is the device which is known as the odometer, and it used to measure the distance covered by the object during the motion. When the object is moving, the distance covered by the vehicle till that time will be recorded here. So in order to measure the distance covered by the vehicle in a particular journey, we have to first read the reading that is given there before the starting of the journey. This reading on the vehicle before the starting of the journey, it is known as the initial reading. After the end of the journey, the reading will be different. That reading at the end of the journey, we call it as a final reading. So, the distance that is covered by the vehicle during the particular journey can be found out by subtracting the initial reading from the final reading. Final reading minus initial reading will give the distance covered by the vehicle during that particular journey. So these are the things that we discussed in today's class, and this is the end of our class for today. So let us wind up here, dear students. Let us meet in the next video class with another chapter. Thank you.